Well, welcome to Old Classic Car, and in this video we're looking at classic standards, and we begin with a 1957 Standard 10, a Super 10 with the rare Standrive 2-pedal transmission. I ran this car for a number of years. Next up, a very nice and the first of several Vignale estates to feature in this particular video. Here's a rarity, a Standard Atlas pickup truck in the livery of Shell Oils. This was a Goodwood revival. This one dates to 1959. Down at the Malvern Classic Car Show, we've got a Standard Vanguard Sportsman, this one from 1958. There's another Phase 3 Vanguard alongside. The first of several Standard 8s, this particular one from the 1950s, powered by the 803cc 4-cylinder engine. Staying with Standard 8s, this is a just post-war Standard 8 two-door saloon, very similar to the pre-war Flying 8s. NOX569, this is a Phase 2 Standard Vanguard saloon. Very damp day. And to the Goodwood revival, this was in 2021, and we've got a Phase 3 Vanguard, or Vanguard Vignale racing car here, straight 6 engine, so it's a Vanguard 6. And to vintage years now, we've got a 1926 Standard SLO4 Stratford Tourer, complete with Shell petrol can on the running board. Fantastic old car, and here's an interior view of the same car at a different meeting. I think this was at the Tatton Park Classic Car Show back in the mid-2000s. EEP 286, that's a very smart little grey Standard 8 of the mid-1950s, about 1954, 1955 or thereabouts. Really nice little cars to drive. I've run those for a number of years. Down to the NEC Classic Car Show, and this is a late 1920s Standard. I think this is a 9-horse saloon. If you can correct any of these identifications or add to the information that I've got, please let me know. And here we've got a post-war Standard 8 drop-head coupe. This one from about 1946, 1947 or thereabouts. Quite a rare little car. And that's followed by another mid-1950s Standard 8 or 10. Not quite sure which. A head-on view of a pre-war Standard Flying 8 Tourer. If you wanted open-top motoring, you can either get the drop-head coupe or the Tourer. The latter was the cheaper of the two. And then we've got MOG 831. This is a Standard Vanguard Phase 1A Estate. This was at the Tatton Park Classic Car Show several years ago, I believe. Front view now of a Restoration Project Standard 10. These had the 948cc 4-cylinder engine, which went on to power the Triumph Herald and various other Triumphs well into the 1970s and beginning of the 80s. Back to Goodwood and Goodwood Revival. We've got a Phase 3 Vanguard here at speed out on the circuit. Head-on view of the same car, nicknamed Bruiser, registration LFF751. This is a little Standard 10 Companion that I ran. This was from about 1960 or 61, the estate car version of the Standard 10 with the pennant style front wings. Great little car that was. Next up, a side view of a pre-war Flying 8. You can see the vents in the bonnet, which identifies it as a pre-war as opposed to a post-war 8. The rear three-quarter view now at Tatton Park of a B-Reg, so 1964 registered Standard 10 pickup. This was a little 700 weight pickup truck, very, very rare now. There's a front view of a similar vehicle, possibly the same vehicle but at a different event. The rear load cover is different in this particular photo. COU 62, that's a Flying 10 of the late 1930s, about 1937 or 1938, in the original gunmetal grey colour. Another Standrive equipped Standard Super 10 here, WPX 603. Great little cars to drive, and an earlier Standard 8 alongside with the sliding windows. Here we've got a Standard 10 with no opening boot, just a little flap for the spare wheel. To get in the load area, you went in via the rear seats, you fold them down. Another pre-war Standard now, this is about 1934 or 1935, Standard Little 9. KVJ13, another Vanguard. This is a Phase 2 Standard Vanguard, I believe. Very original looking car. Continuing with these classic standards, we've got 645 MUO. This was at the Goodwood Revival in 2021. This is a Vanguard 6 from 1962. One of the last standards before Triumph took over. An 817VXN, that is a 1955 registered Standard 8. Again, no opening boot lid, just a little hatch for the spare wheel. Non-original wheel trims and white wall tyres. Now this lovely blue car here, this is a 4-door 1939 Standard Flying 10. Back to the post-war years in 678 UXE, that's a November 1954 registered Standard 8. So 803cc power, a bit like the rival Austin A30. And down to the NEC, the classic car show down there, we've got a Phase 1A Vanguard Estate. Talking of Vanguard Estate, we've got another Vignale version of the Phase 3 here, the Vanguard Estate Phase 3. Vignale re-profiled the roof slightly of the Phase 3. Down to the Motor Museum at Bourton on the Water, and here we've got a post-war Flying 8, or 8 rather, drophead coupe. NAS 924, little Standard 8, no longer shows as being registered, so is it still out there somewhere, perhaps reunited with its original registration, who knows? Let me know in the comments if you do. Lovely little car here, UD9533, this is a 1938 Standard Flying 8, 2-door saloon. Real beauty that is, spotted at Malvern in the mid-2000s. Spot of historic rallying here with two sisters and their Standard 10, GFA 217. Pair of Vanguards here, Phase 3 Vignales, 940 JVA and 558 OHY, both seen at Malvern. Also at Malvern was 549 CFK. This is a very rare Standard 6 or 700 weight van from about 1960. Such a rare survivor that is now. There's a rear view of the same van. Staying with mid-50s standards, we've got 325 FMG. That's a September 1955 registered Standard 10. Real Bobby Dazzler. Back to Malvern, NAL 435, that's where that one was spotted. This is a Phase 1A Vanguard, very original looking car. Fantastic Leyland 15 or Leyland 20 van based on the Standard Atlas. But after Leyland took over, they were rebadged, but it's very much a Standard Atlas. And to the NEC 303 FKN, that's another Vignale estate. Really practical, really nice cars. Toolbox built into the rear lower tailgate. Back to Goodwood Revival, this was in 2006, and a really smart Standard 10 pickup. Many years ago I found this Vanguard van in the garage alongside the Morris Minor that I bought. Sadly it's no longer there, so don't ask please. And to the NEC, another Standard 10, this one in a very pale light blue, quite an unusual colour. VJ6746, this is nice, this is a 1934 9 horsepower 2-door car. Very smart indeed. I like the Brooklands badge on the front bumper. That's followed by KDU237, a Beetleback Phase 1 Vanguard. And a pickup. This looks like a Phase 2 pickup, or possibly an Australian ute. The rear body is different to that found on another Vanguard pickup that features later in this video, so I think is a rear view of the same one. I think this is probably an Australian bodied ute rather than a British built pickup. Quite interesting with the extra windows and the cab there at the back. Next we have XE8622. This is a Staffordshire registered Standard 10. It's a 948cc engine. This engine soldiered on in various sizes and configurations for decades. Another Leyland badged version of a Standard Atlas van. Such a rare thing. The early vans were 948cc powered and very underpowered by all accounts, and later ones were 1147 and slightly better. Then we've got LG 6978, that's a 1931 Standard 9 four-door saloon. Next up, a vintage fabric-bodied Big 9 Standard from 1930. It's a rare survivor. The review of a Welsh-registered TUM 192 Standard 10 Grey Saloon. Very nice indeed. The first of two photos of PDP 556, which is another Vanguard Vignale from the early 1960s. Well, actually 1959, I believe, this particular example. There's a review of the same car. If you like your classic cars and classic standards in particular, please let me know in the comments. If any of your cars are featured here, let me know how you're getting on with them, please. I've run a number of standards, and here is a Standard 8, quite an early one, SKD 155 from March 55. Still had the sliding door windows at this point in time. Here's a handsome machine. This cream device here is a Flying 12 drop head coupe. That's really nice. Review now of FV8247. That's a 1936 Standard Flying 10. Quite a streamlined shape of the mid to late 1930s. Trio of classic standards here in the foreground. We've got a 1938 Flying 12. Two Standard 8s here. In the foreground is XMA 227. That's a 1956 Standard Super 8. Two photos of VAS 327. This is a 1959 Standard Pennant. This was the remodel version of the Standard 10, bit of a stopgap model until the Triumph Herald came on stream later in '59. Back to Vanguards, and we've got a Phase 2 Vanguard in black here. And by comparison, here is a Phase 1 Vanguard with a narrow slatted grille. That's the way of telling the Phase 1 and the Phase 1A apart. Not one, but two Standard Atlases. The top one is a 1959 948cc example, and below that is a 1962 1147cc Standard Atlas camper. Over to Bicester Heritage for this one, 370YUH, that's a Standard 8 of October 1957. To the Haynes Motor Museum, we've got 450 GKR. This is a August 59 registered Vignale. And first of two photographs of a Phase 1 Vanguard pickup. Slightly different rear body shape compared to the white series or Phase 2 that we've already featured. This was down at Gaydon at the classic lorry meeting back in the mid-2000s at the British Motor Museum. Lovely old pickup truck that is. 95 XMU, that's another little Standard 10 948cc. Very much a rival to the Austin A35 with identical engine size. This is a rarity in this country anyway, A&H 283A. This is 1963 Vanguard 6 Utility, Australian bodied pickup version of the standard Vanguard 6. Two photos now of AAD 570 at the British Motor Museum at Gaydon. This is 1934 standard 10/12 Speedline. A very handsome little car, suicide doors and streamlined styling. Such a rare sight nowadays, and very, very smart indeed. Love the two-toning. Just a few standards to go. We've got a pair of Vanguards here. Top Vanguard 6 Estate, another one below in pale blue. Very practical cars, a bit like the old Zephyrs. Back to the Haynes Motor Museum and UBM 196. That's a January 58 registered Standard 10. A little pre-war standard here, registered in July of 1934. I think this is a standard little 9. If you can correct or add to the information that I've got on the cars feature, please pop a note in the comments. And to round out this collection of photos featuring classic standards, we've got a Standard 10 registered in April of 1956. And that completes this set of photographs of classic and vintage standards. I hope that was of interest. If you like your British cars and standards in particular, please pop a note in the comments and see some of the other videos that are now on the channel. Thanks very much for watching, and bye for now.